Hey, here we are again. My name is Jeff Harrison, and you are at the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. I don't do this alone. I have a sidekick who kicks me in the side often.
That's right.
Welcome her.
Hey, hi, Leslie Spoor here, and we're here to see if we can play Stump Jeff today. I think you'll enjoy this.
Hey,
Go ahead.
before we get started, I'm just curious. We always come on and you ask me, "Are you having a bad day?" And I don't know if it's just because I've got a lot of things going on, like I just finished a big call with a client, or do I have that outwardly projection like I'm having a bad day? And I said, I don't have bad days, I have bad moments, but I have great days.
Right.
So what's been going on with you? How did you determine to ask me, "Hey, are you having a bad day?"
Well, normally you have this very happy aura about you, very smiley or mischievous generally. And when I ask you that question, it's because you're more serious with this. And it's probably just you're in your head and thinking, but it isn't your normal face. I have a resting bitch face, so I know that I look like I'm mad all the time, but you generally don't. So I wanted to see if you're okay today.
Oh, good. Well, like I said, I just came off a pretty intense call with a client and their team, with a client out of Chicago, and helping them strategize and put together and really kind of formulate their business moving forward. He's an author and he's very accomplished, and he and his wife are both very successful in their fields. And they have a book out, or he has a book out, and so it was a pretty intense conversation, and there were some new team players on there that, I had to find out where they're at so I don't step on anybody's toes. And it just took it was a lot of bandwidth, yeah,
Great.
which is good. I love that. I love it. It was great because you could see, like, when you say something and they say, "Oh, that's it. That's what his strengths are. That's what we want to do more of." So I was probably still in that role because I literally wrap that up we're doing this at the top of an hour, and it was like 12:40, or it was like 12:46, and I quickly grabbed something to eat, and then here I am here. So
you're rushing.
Yeah, so that's probably why it looked like I was deep in my head. So
I worry about you. That's all.
Well, you have a topic you want to talk about today, and I can't wait to
Yeah.
find out what your top 10 are. It says called Top 10 AI Traps and How to Avoid Them.
Right. So I'm going to pretty much set you up and throw these at you and see if we can stump you today, since you are the AI wizard. Lately,
Oh, by the way, this is unrehearsed. I wasn't expecting this, so I didn't know. Like, I had given Leslie a few days ago the topics. I'd already made PDF handouts, the whole thing, and then at like 12:47, this email came through and said, "Hey, here's the two topics." I'm thinking, not read any of that stuff. So yeah, this is fresh. So if it goes sideways, we'll be recording a new one, but if it doesn't, we'll keep going. Okay, so go ahead, Leslie. Here we go.
Well, here's the thing. That everywhere in the news media these days is AI, everywhere you go. And recently I heard about a lady who got duped by a deep fake, where her daughter allegedly called and said she was in trouble in Mexico, which is where she knew her daughter was. And she sent her entire life savings, and it turned out it was fraud. It really wasn't her, it was a clone of her. And we do clones of ourselves quite a bit. So that's one of the things. And then I heard this morning, I don't remember, my days all run together, but I heard this teacher who just quit. I don't know if you heard about this. She quit teaching because the kids in school, and I think she's teaching middle school, don't want to learn anymore. They're like, "I'll just have ChatGPT do it," or "Why do I need to write this? I can just plug it in, and an AI will take care of it for me." And they don't have any drive or ambition. And I come from a school of thought, like I believe you do, that tools are only good if you understand how they work, right? If you understand what the process is, what the thoughts are behind something, or how it's operating, the logic, then you can make good decisions and you can utilize the tool however you need to. But it sounds like people are starting to become extremely rude. I even heard that some women want to marry AI. That's as bad as dating somebody in prison. I don't quite understand that thought process.
Well, at least you know where they are at.
Although you don't have to cook every day, and laundry would be done, so maybe it would be okay. But anyway, I came up with 10 issues.
So none of those were questions.
No, those are just.
Okay.
That's just deleted. That's just deleted.
I already had answers for that stuff. Okay.
I'm really trying to stump you today, so we'll see how it goes. So I've got 10 issues or concerns about AI, and I thought I could throw them out there and see what you have to say about them.
Cool.
So one thing.
By the way, my answers I had in my head were prolific for those situations, but let's keep going.
Well, I'm sure they'll come up in this so it says one of the things that I understand is that AI is very hungry, right? It needs data to function. But when you hand over all your data without any proper protection, what could happen? So what about data privacy and security when you're using artificial intelligence?
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's like, it's one of those things where if you're out on Facebook or you're on, you're writing blogs, you're creating videos, there's a bit of a public space there, and or what's called public domain, and being able to use that to your benefit, in this case AI, consuming that and learning, because they call it training. Now, when they're doing this, they are training it. Now, the good news is they're probably not doing a lot of that for you and me. No offense to you or me, is they're really going after, hey, how would Elon think? How would Richard Branson think? What's going on with Warren Buffett? And educating that model. But there are those situations where privacy is important. And right now there's a big conversation going on about AI compliance and protection in those certain things. And we are right now in the process of adding those things in there, because this is coming from my attorney, that there are no real rules right now.
Right.
And so it's right now the onus, if you will, is on that company. So I'll give you an example. There's a company called HeyGen, which is probably leading when it comes to creating an avatar that you can't tell if Leslie's a real or an avatar right now, because it actually can have an interactive conversation, because it's been knowledge base is everything Leslie knows, right? Well, before they'll let you put that video on there and create an avatar, you have to do a live approval that you have the authority to do that. So there's a little check and balance there. But beyond that, it's like if let's say, for instance, you gave me access to your account and I created a video that did that, like you talked about for your daughter, and she sent you all the money, but it really came to me and I absconded with all that cash. There's really no guardrails for that right now. So the biggest thing is to be careful from a standpoint. And on that one note, I would say with those who are close to you, and you probably want to write this down if you're watching this for the first time, is establish a keyword or a safe word that if you get this call and you're even interested in being a little like, hey, this may not be on the up and up, and this could be an email, a text, it could be video, it could be audio, is please tell me our safe word. And you don't write it down anywhere. You don't talk about it. And if it can't answer that safe word, that is your clue. So right now, are there strong things in place? No. Part of it is because it's changing so rapidly. It's like we went from a horse to a car. We really didn't have speed limits. We didn't have lanes that we all drove in. We didn't have lines down because you had a buggy coming at you or a horse. You weren't worried about staying on your side of the road. You're just like, you got plenty of time, right?
Right.
So these things are evolving.
Right. Well, it's kind of like giving your house key to a robot, right? That's all well and good unless it posts your alarm code online, and then it may not be a good thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rules and regulations come out of this, because there are people with nefarious intent, right? There's always somebody that takes something good and makes it into something bad, and with how fast the technology is evolving, it's going to be tricky, I think.
Yeah, okay. I mean, as you say, there are people that will use it for the wrong reasons. It's just like a car. You can use it to deliver milk, or you can use it as a getaway car after robbing a bank. Right. It's not the car's fault. It's the person that uses the tool. So you're spot on.
Okay. So let's talk about bias in AI models. Garbage in, garbage out. We always talk about that. So if your training data or the learning data that you are posting into AI to learn about what you needed to know is biased, then the decisions will be too. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
And how do you
As
avoid that?
and as an example, I have a model that I built for myself. I call it my marketing mentor, and I built it on a platform called Delphi. And I loaded in 14 years worth of knowledge from videos and articles and all the kinds of things that I made on marketing. And then it's automatically synced up with every time I post something or create a new blog, it uploads and syncs with it. So it is biased on the information it gives back based on what my opinion and my feelings are when it comes to marketing. But if I go out in general and ask AI about marketing, it is more data driven than it is bias. And that's probably going to be our saving grace. So when we say, well, and we hear this before AI is like, say I wrote an article for you. I did the research, I understand the data, and I wrote an article for it and I gave it back to you going, it's really good, Jeff, but it doesn't sound like anything like I would say
Right, right.
because I created it on data and it was influenced by how I interpret it and how I wrote it. Well, now we have that ability to say, well, now you can load some like all the videos we've done with you, we can load it up, get your voice tonality, your slangs, all that kind of stuff in there, and then say, right on this topic, now it's biased and it's slanted it and it does sound like you. Now I come back with the same article, which now takes me a fraction of the time. And you
Right,
say, I love it. It sounds just like me, Jeff. Go, go, Jeff, go.
right.
Bias is based on, what you ask it to do. I mean, even today, I did a thing and I said, write and act like, and then I put the person's name in there who's well known. I won't say it, and I said, from them because I like that person. I think they make good judgments. Give me an answer to this question. Using the database that's out there in the world, it created something. But in general, Leslie, is it bias? Not so much. Not like we think of that what I'll call a closed language model that is all about Leslie or all about Jeff.
Well, but there were cases of like Google or some other um, browsers, which is also a form of AI, right? Because you can ask it questions and it comes back with information that's gathered or that somebody's put in there, right? And during the last political cycle, depending on the question you asked, the answer you got was different based on whoever loaded the data's bias.
100%. So if you
So you
have
really
if
do
you
have
have
to watch that.
yeah, so if you have somebody as an example who leans one way or the other, let's just say it at that, and they only feed it information that they think is right, it's biased on that, not because of AI, but because the information was given by the person who, hey, I didn't look at both sides. But I
Right.
think if you added all content, and that's why I say if AI in general looks at all content, and that's why you said it's hungry, it's getting fed everything. Like it knows everything right now. And it's the next step is when it becomes to the point where it's creating its own content to learn off of.
That's what's scary, isn't it?
Well, I,
So
I think I think in a way, but Leslie, I think it also is a time where it says if it has only altruistic meaning or purposes, it will be better than
right,
the stuff we have now that's slanted to make us feel one way or the other. It will just be data driven.
right. It's kind of like teaching a toddler all their manners from a pirate movie, isn't it?
Yeah,
If you don't want to be surprised when they're walking around with a sword threatening people because they can't handle their emotions. So it just depends.
that's exactly right. I say, hey, matey,
That's
walk the
right.
plank. And
Our
all of a sudden,
our
I've got their little sister walking the plank and she's all tied up or whatever. Yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
Okay, so the next point is lack of transparency, the fact that it's kind of a black box, right? So sometimes AI will give you a decision and you have no idea how it got there. And it's like asking your dog to explain your taxes. It'll give you an answer, maybe, but well, it depends on how much you had to drink the night before, but it'll give you an answer. but you don't know how it got there. So what about stuff like that?
Yeah, and this is a great question because the lid of that came off. If you think of it like Pandora's box, um, Pandora's box was opened when DeepSeek was introduced by China, and it used reasoning. So now, when it first came out, I didn't think that big of a deal about it. Like, why do I care about that? But what it does, it allows you and I to look at it and goes through the process of what they're doing. It's the step-by-step process. Like, oh, this is how it's thinking through, and it could be chain of thought, if you will. I'm thinking this, and then this, and then this. Well, now almost I think all of the models that are out there now, like we think of Perplexity, ChatGPT, Copilot, that type of Grok, they all have deep seek type processing. So now we do know how it gets to an answer. And so we can see that. So it says, oh, I looked at these articles. I looked at this website. I did this research. I listened to this video, whatever. And then it comes back with an answer. So you have a little bit more confidence that is correct. Now, I'm going to warn you right now that even today, when we create content for clients and it gives us links, like it's saying, oh, link out to this article, or, you see a word highlighted and you click, it's supposed to take you to a link validating that that's correct. We still see that in error. So we have to clean those up. But overall, the information is correct. And then we put in the correct information as far as the links. But how it gets us answered. Now, let me point out, there are still models within the ChatGPT and Grok and Perplexity and Copilot program that if you just want an answer, it'll still spit you out an answer. It won't go through how the reasoning was. And it's called deep reasoning. Because it's really thinking through, and you can see it. You can put an answer to a question, and it says thinking,
right?
And then it'll start going through its process. Yeah.
Right. Well, there's certain industries I think have to be a little bit more careful about this, like finance or healthcare, because there are so many compliance issues, right? You've got HIPAA, and you've got the GAA. What is it for finance, GAAP or something? Those things may not have been taken into consideration yet if nobody's taken the time to teach or to implement that through the AI, because there's so many now different versions. And so one would have to be kind of careful that you don't absolutely take something as accurate without checking, right? Is that true?
Well, here's kind of the thing. We're working with a potential client right now, and it involves HIPAA. And they have an AI model that works alongside radiologists that will actually read X-rays. And the reason they're doing that is because a typical radiologist might see 1,000 X-rays in one day. And they're not the same person at 9 o'clock in the morning as they were at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And something could be missed, even though they're doing their best. It's just work fatigue. Well, this AI model, oh, by the way, 95% of all X-rays come back normal. So this AI model is allowed to go in and look at that and examine that and give its output and say, these are normal and these are the ones that you should take a little closer look at, and then highlight that. Doesn't make a decision. It just segments it for them. But here's the cool part. HIPAA, the HIPAA laws don't let us get in and look at patients' data. Like, it doesn't allow that. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is it slows down the growth, in my opinion. It slows down the growth. No, it's not my opinion. It's a fact of the evolution of medicine. Because what it causes us to do with HIPAA protecting us, it also stops that opportunity to say, you know what, there's 4,000 people who have this issue. Let's study them. No, I have to get a group of 10 who will let me look at their information and have to determine for 10 what the answer might be for 4,000 or for 4 million. So my data set is smaller.
Is that true even if you don't feed it the person's personal information?
Yeah. It's because that's behind the wall. That's like, okay, there's certain things that AI can't get to. That's a closed system they can't get into.
Because I could see where if AI could see all data available, all medical data related to pancreatic cancer, for example, all studies, all results, all, way more than one doctor could have the time to look at. That it could be possible that AI could come back with a recommended cure or a regimen that would help people, or what would the root cause is, so that people could implement and take preventative action steps to prevent themselves from getting pancreatic cancer and reduce, because that seems to be really prevalent these days. Everybody, I mean, I know 4 or 5 people that have had or passed away from pancreatic cancer in the last 5 years. So I would think if it had access to all that data, it could come up with that stuff. But you're saying that because of HIPAA, they really can't have access to all that yet.
Yeah, they don't. And there's a gentleman, his name is Peter Diamandis, and I was listening to a program a couple of days ago where he was talking about this, and the frustrating part about for him is the fact that what you just said is so real. If we would just allow AI the possibility, and again, I'm not saying carte blanche, there'll be some oversight of saying, let's look at all these patients who have these symptoms. Let's put it into ChatGPT or an AI system and let it see the things that we can't see. Because when you talk about bias, a doctor will be biased. The longer they're in their field, they'll be biased and they'll miss something. And that's just, that's not me being opinionated. It is true.
It's human nature.
Yeah, it's human nature. So the point being is, if we had access to all that, we would have answers that might blow us away. And we see that happening in longevity. Like he has a program where you can go and do a full body scan. It creates, I think it's like 1.2 billion data points on your whole body. And the whole idea is to catch things before they're a problem. Don't find out when they say, well, I'm sorry, you're stage 3 or you're stage 4. No, it was found out early on. And then that person could change either their lifestyle or their medication or whatever it is. I think that's where medicine could really benefit from having more of a policy of having that done. And the other thing on it, Leslie, I think, there are some people out there who have conditions where it is small. So that means no one is putting any funding behind it. So there's no one out there doing this in a large
studies.
Yeah, there's no studies. But now if you put that into AI, it could be done at a fraction of the cost at warp speed. I think that's a potential breakthrough.
Yeah, I think it's going to get to that point. So once they figure out the ethical part.
Now, as far as the financial side, well, it can collect data. Like it can say, hey, I'm going to watch the stock market. I'm going to now understand all the stocks that are in there. I'm going to see what the trades are, and I could, with AI, it could create a modeling system, which are already some out there that you can say, I'm just going to let the AI decide. We've been using AI in the financial business for quite some time.
I just had an idea of, here's a prompt I could put in ChatGPT and figure out what's the best stocks to buy, and keep doing that. I'm surprised people, I'm sure there are people doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are a couple of things. There are some things that, it just doesn't have access to.
Okay.
HIPAA is one of them.
Okay, number 4 for you, Stump Jeff Day, is ethical concerns. So just because AI can generate a convincing fake voice or image doesn't mean it should. Deep fakes aren't just for entertainment, right? They can destroy reputations, and we've seen that happen already. Conversely, some people will claim something as a deep fake that is not, because now people don't really know whether or not to believe what they see, because you can't really trust anything you see anymore. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's that sleight of hand trick. Like, when you see a magician up close, you're like, how did they do that?
Well, it has to be. But think about it from the marketing perspective, right? I mean, you and I both know that we've cloned our voices. You have a physical clone. I don't have that yet, but you have a physical clone. And you really can't tell it from not you, right?
Yeah.
And do you use that for videos and things that you make?
Yeah, I just made a series of videos, and we use some of that in there. You can now make me, I can add up to 100 different what they call profiler scenarios, and they're just short little videos. I could be walking on the street, I could be standing in front of a coffee shop, and not say anything, but my initial video might be 10 or 15 seconds of me saying something. Well, then I can take all that in there and create a video that I didn't say any of that stuff, but it's a 5-minute video based on a script that I have.
So what do we, this goes back to kind of what we talked about earlier about having a safe word, because if a video gets sent to somebody and they don't know, now I noticed that on Facebook when I was posting some videos, it wanted me to say if it was AI generated or not. I don't even know if they still are doing that, but at one point they were saying you need to say if this is AI content, because there's some fantastical videos out there that you have no idea if they're real or not. Are they still doing that today?
They are. It is on a voluntary basis, and do the same thing on YouTube, where before you load up a video, you have to say is it for kids or not for kids. But then if you scroll down a little further, it asks you if any of this content was generated by artificial intelligence, or it's not real, or it's a likeness of, but it's not really them. And it's still a voluntary basis. I don't have to click it. It doesn't mean I can't put my video up there. Again, I think these are probably guardrails that will establish over time. Like, I'm not opposed to putting something out that has, in the right-hand corner, it has AI on there. And I don't know, just like when we put out content, there are things that we run it through to say, oh, this was written by a human, because we take out the words that AI would commonly use. And then we run it through the test and it says, yeah, it's written by a human. So even the AI detector created by AI couldn't detect it was written by AI. So I don't know if it will, Leslie, if it will actually be able to tell that. And, typically what happens when a video comes out and it's been monkeyed with, there are like breadcrumbs, if you will, that people that can find that stuff, they'll see it. But this was never monkeyed. This was never monkeyed with.
Like the lady's finger that was missing on when I could tell it was AI, because I can kind of tell anyway a little bit, because it's kind of halting compared to a natural cadence and natural movement, even if it sounds like them. But when their fingers disappear and come back, for sure it's AI.
Yeah. Well, I'm speaking basically, if you had a video of yourself and you had a series of videos for yourself, you wouldn't have any fingers missing, because the actual original video was there. But what we did is we have like HeyGen version 4. It can take the script and understand the meaning and the emotion and the intent and the pace that you have in the script, and now you will act accordingly. And
Right.
So because it was never really manipulated, what are the signals that we can look at and say, oh, this is fake? It's virtually impossible. And here's the thing. This is the worst it's going to get. It's only going to continue to evolve and get better.
Well, my opinion, and I believe your opinion is the same, is that if you're using AI to trick people into engagement, it's not marketing, it's manipulation.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Because you do all digital marketing, and I know you're ethical, and you would not do that. I can see which kind of brings us to the next topic, where you use it for efficiency purposes for yourself and for others. So number 5 is job displacement. There's a lot of people, and I'm already seeing this on all different kinds of industries, even McDonald's. They're using robots and AI to handle the order window and even do some of the flipping of the food and stuff. So AI, I believe it doesn't take jobs, but it definitely replaces tasks, right? And so I think that, and this goes to kind of my philosophy about management by exception, right? I want to automate anything that's routine or mundane. I have always been that way. All my software does the same thing. And so that's what AI's point is. So what would you say to people that are concerned about AI taking away their jobs?
I would say this. It's like and I'm going to use that horse and the car again. If you refuse to learn how to drive a car, the world is going to pass you by. I'm not saying you can't get from point A to point B on that horse. It's just going to take you a lot longer. By the time you get there, all the groceries are gone.
Right.
And so if you would look at it and say, you know what, the world is evolving. I want to move with it. What can I do to learn, or what can I do to learn the things that I need that will make me more valuable to my job? Because here's the cool thing about AI. AI works really well when it works side by side with you,
Right.
right?
I agree. Yeah.
Versus just completely taking over your task. Because right now, and it could change tomorrow, it could change by the end of the year. Right now, AI and AI agents are not all independent. It still takes some oversight. As I was explaining before, Melissa, my project manager, when something is created, she doesn't just willy-nilly post it on someone's website or put it on a post on a social platform. She actually looks it over, makes sure the links are right, make sure it really makes sense, and then once she's tweaked it, then she puts it out. So that means, okay, she's gone from a writer to a proofreader, editor to a publisher. So she's
Right.
still very much employed. Um, but
That's true.
I would say for those people that are concerned, like will it replace my job? I think you have to say, well, what new skills do I need to learn? Like if
Exactly.
you're resisting learning how to create prompts, if you're resisting how to have conversation or even download the dadgum thing onto your phone, yeah, you're going to be left behind because, as it's been said many, many times, AI is only going to replace the jobs of those people who refuse to learn how to use it. But
Right.
there are going to be many, many opportunities for those people who know how to use it. And the best time to do it is right now because it's all brand new. Still
Well,
is.
and another way to think of that is that if the job that you have is replaceable by a robot or AI, then maybe it's time to level up your skills because you're going to have, one of the things that AI does for us, or at least it does for me, that you use way more AI apps than I do because obviously you're the digital guru, but for the few that I use, it frees me up for more creativity and strategy and leadership tasks instead of the physical. I got to use my brain to. I love to type. I mean, not type. I like to type too. But I like to write. I love to write content and and I've talked about this before. How it used to take me 12 hours to do a newsletter, and then it took me 3 or 4 hours, and now it takes me 10 minutes. Because I've taught AI my knowledge base, and all I have to do is review it and adjust it where needed, if it needs it. But most of the time, it sounds just like me, so I don't really have to adjust it too much. Um, and there's a lot of ways you can use it to be helpful with it, but I don't think, all through our lifetime, and I know I'm older than you, but all through our lifetime, we have seen jobs disappear. The one that always comes into my head is switchboard operator, which anybody watching this today or listening to it is going to say, what the hell is a switchboard operator? But I'm sure they've got to have seen old movies where somebody with a headset on like this is plugging in connectors into a big old board, right? And moving calls from one place to the next. Or you had to call the operator for information about a phone number for somebody. And then you could dial 411 online, and now you can look it up online. You don't even have to call anybody. So all of these things evolve, and tasks are replaced, and jobs are replaced, and yet there are you can use your brain. They always say we only use 10% of our brain, which I don't know if that's true or not true. And AI is now making up the other 90%. But you can use different parts of your brain. I started to ask you earlier, and I forgot. You were talking about logic and it going through a sequence. And I think, what about somebody like me who's brain ping pongs? Sometimes it goes like a pinball machine. Somebody will say something, and my brain will start jumping. You've known me long enough to know that it'll do that, and something will come out of my mouth that had nothing at all relevant to what was just said, but I made this major connection that nobody saw. and AI can do that for you, and so it's kind of helpful for somebody like me. But how do you get to think that way? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there are so many places that AI can improve our world and our life. You said the redundancy of tasks, yes, and we see that happening. I don't want to say rapidly, but we see it happening pretty quickly. From you mentioned phones. We create AI voice agents that will actually answer your phone.
Right.
It can set appointments, it can answer questions, it can reroute calls, it can actually call your appointments and say, okay, just remind you of an appointment tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning, please confirm. And it's not asking you to push a button. It's like you're having a conversation with somebody you wouldn't know because the voices are so good. um, and so I think what that will allow some people to do is to up their game, because now, if I were used to stopping and saying, hold on, I've got to answer my phone, I can stay with my customer. I can give better customer service. I can now step out of the office and know that my business is going to run while I'm out maybe meeting with a potential new client or going to a networking event, and never skip a beat. So,
Isn't that one of the things, one of the systems that you offer is
yeah, yeah,
that phone thing, right?
yeah.
Which I think is helpful because everybody wants instant gratification these days. We have gotten so spoiled about wanting a response just like that, right? And so having that kind of a tool that can answer for you and have the answers to the most common questions and be able to take care of that for you allows you, just like we work with time, right? We can be you when you're not there or don't have time to do something. That's what we do in my lifestyle management company. That phone allows you also to multitask and to have um, be in two places at one time, which I think is a really great product that you offer on that.
it, it I- and I think it all comes down to adoption. In the medical field, they say it takes 17 years to adopt a new thought process,
Does
because
it take
of
that long
all,
now?
yeah, because of all the education. Everything is drilled into you. You've worked on that cadaver 9,000 times. This is what you know. And it takes a long time to unlearn that, because the myelin, that whole synapses, is so ingrained in your brain. Well, I think, as you say, we want instant gratification. If I can say, Leslie, you can run your business and you can do this, this, and this, and it's all artificial intelligence. And you're like, yeah, I like Mary. I want her to answer my phone, and she's in the office, and I really like her. But then one day you're going, but Mary misses 3 calls, and you start listening to her, and she's giving bad information and really missing calls. You're going, there's got to be a better way. There's the pain point that might say, oh, I want to do that. It might be 6 months from now, it might be 5 years from now. But I
Well,
think it's all on adoption.
well, it also could be somebody's just having a bad day. I've had people say to me, just like we talked about at the beginning about me asking you if you're okay. I've had people say to me, just because the way you answer the phone, somebody can think that you're having a bad day or you're in a bad mood, or even if you're just distracted, which you should never answer the phone when you're distracted. But even if you sound distant or unapproachable, that's bad for business. So having a system like, what do you call that system?
What do I call it?
Yeah.
It's just your phone answering system. I don't really have a formal name for it.
Oh,
It's just a, I
needs
guess
a
I should
clever name. Ask ChatGPT.
maybe, we should give her a name. We'll call her Rosie.
Rosie the robot, like the Jetsons.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be Claire or something of that nature. So yeah.
So the next one, this is going to bring us back to something that I opened with about schools and stuff. So over reliance on AI is a real risk and potential problem. If you rubber stamp everything AI says or spits out, you're gambling your reputation, seriously gambling it, because and there's a commercial for some kind of mobile service out there where the guy keeps saying the same thing over and over and over again. And he goes, "We have to get ChatGPT to stop AI to stop writing these commercials." It's kind of the same thing, right? You got to where do you draw? How do you responsibly utilize this technology?
Yeah, I think let's say specifically in classrooms. I think it's a phenomenal time for teachers with artificial intelligence to teach at a much higher level. And I think it's an opportunity. Let's take two different paths, and I'll come back to the second path. The first path is what you want to have these kids do is not just like a calculator, push the buttons in and here's the answer, but understand how you got there. So what I mean by that is, let's say you want them to do a particular report. Well, how do you get there? It comes through the critical reasoning skills, the critical thinking skills of, well, what should we ask it? And if you just say, hey, you put in what you'd like, let's examine it, and then let's look at what you ask it, and let's put it in a little differently, and let's look at the outcome, and then let's together decide, is one better than the other? Well, that would then teach them to say, oh, wait a second, I need to ask better questions if I want better outputs. We start to teach them, because at the end of the day, isn't life just about asking great questions? So I think that's a good thing for that. It helps with a teacher that instead of resisting it, should think, wait a second, how can I turn this into an asset and teach these kids a skill set they don't have and have fun with it, that now they use it all the time, but they think, wait a second, is that really the question I want? Because is that really the outcome I want? No, let me ask a better question. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just, you put a shiny path in front of me, or a shiny object, because I was like, ooh, I want to teach people how to write prompts, because and you're way better at it than me, but it would be really fun to do. I remember when I was in school a million years ago when there were dinosaurs.
They were all red schoolhouses.
That's right. Oh, God, no. We were not allowed to take calculators to school. We were not allowed to use them in doing our homework or studying in class. Now they're required. I mean, that's a perfect example of how technology and learning has evolved. Now they're required. And I was having a conversation with somebody this weekend about it's funny to watch kids in the 12 to 18 age where you try to read cursive. I mean, they can't read cursive. They can't tell time unless you have it in a digital format. They can't look at a clock and read what time it is. I mean, I'm sure there's some that can, but by and large, most of these kids are past all of that.
I mean, the question. Well, let me ask you: is that a sign of, and I'm going to say, of lack of intelligence, or we've just evolved? We've gotten past that. We don't use that old technology more. Again, we don't ride the horse to the store anymore.
I know. It's hard. It's hard when I can see now where people that used to be what I thought were old would say things like I'm saying now, and they're like, and I can see why, because it's like we grew up with all this stuff, and we live in an amazing point in history where we have seen that technology just leaps and bounds. I mean, where we were in the 50s versus where we are today. I was born in the 50s, so I wasn't there, but I've seen movies. I've seen Back to the Future. But where we were in the 50s versus where we are today is just, there's no comparison. No. Even in my work career, I don't know if I've talked about this on here or not, because I talk about this a lot. When I traveled, I had to carry books and DVDs and CDs and all the stuff to run all that. And then they came out with an iPad after I stopped traveling, which I would have given, body parts in order to have an iPad in those days. And now you don't need that. You just use your phone, and now you have AI. I mean, I remember dial-up. Remember the sound that dial-up used to make when you went on AOL? Is AOL even around anymore? I have no idea.
It's still there. It's still there. It's wild that it is there. It makes me think about how important telling stories to the next generation is. It's like, we sit around campfires, not we, but our ancestors used to sit around campfires and tell stories to that next generation.
What was that? Is that your gardener? Pause.
And they would,
pausing.
and so they would tell these stories, and then that would be passed down. And as we know, the stories get convoluted, and now it sounds like the story, but it's not even true. It's like that old thing of I have a secret and you pass it around to a group. By the time it gets to the 10th person, it's not even close.
Yeah.
My
We have
point,
to. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, my point being is, as you said, we live in a time that is phenomenal, and we have the ability, Leslie, to record everything we do.
Right.
And like I talked earlier on about this digital marketing mentor that I have. Well, I could take that same tool and say, hey, I just want to document my life. And so if anybody asks, if I had children, which I don't, but if I had next generations, I could actually then give that to them, and it would be an accurate conversation every time they say, well, what did Uncle Jeff do? What did Grandpa Jeff do? What did whatever my great grandfather do?
Or what would he do?
Yeah, that it would be able to give you an answer based on my understanding of the world as we're living in now. I think that's pretty cool.
That's what I was saying. I think we should tell all that stuff to the RAI so that it has our knowledge in there. But I have a friend who is so reliant. We're talking about all reliance. I have a friend who is so reliant on ChatGPT in particular. He won't even answer a question anymore. I'm not kidding. The guy's retired. He won't answer a question unless he runs it through ChatGPT first. And it's even on like current events. He'll say, because we like to have big political, you know, discussions. He'll say discussions because we're from the opposite side. And I'll say this happened, and he'll say, let me look it up. And he'll look it up and he'll say, well, they said, well, yeah, that did happen, or I didn't know that happened, or he won't, and he uses it as his physical. He uses it as his therapist. He says, I'm in this situation, or I feel this way, and I'm not happy about this, and I reacted like this to somebody, and it will even come back and tell him you were stupid to do that. I mean, he's very, very reliant on it, and I don't know how we prevent that from happening except to educate people, I guess.
Yeah, I mean. And I don't want to leave this educational piece because I have a second track I want to tell you about that. I think it's pretty cool. But I'm not sure, is that a good thing or a bad thing? As an example, if you created a motivational coach that knew everything about you and was only working for you to help you keep motivated, or a business coach, or an attorney, or a therapist, or whatever that is, and it's on your pocket and you can check in with them anytime you wanted to, is that a bad thing?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
It could be a good thing. Now, if you get to the point where you can't even answer, well, what do you want for dinner? Hold on a second. That could be a little bit of a problem, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they need to spend more time with their therapist AI. But I don't know if it's so bad, because again, going back to what you said, is we love instantaneous. And if I can say, hold on, I'm not having, you're right, I wasn't having my best day. Let's talk this through. And it might say, well, what's happened today? Tell me about your day. And I talk about it and says, well, what about this? And how about if you process this? And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I got that. I'm feeling better. At least I got somebody to talk it out instead of me talking it through in my head. And I've relived it. Yeah, I've relived it 97 times. And every time it's like Groundhog Day. Groundhog still dies. Or whatever, right?
Well, it's our bias, right?
Yes.
We can have a whole podcast about how to shut that voice off in your head. And I've been really successful in doing it, but it took a long time and a lot of therapy to learn, because we do have that, at least one, if not more than one, conversation going on, even when we're having external conversations. There's always internal dialogue. And you have to learn how to shut that off, or you drive yourself crazy, or you get stuck in a place and can't move forward. And that's not unlike AI either, right? It's kind of the same kind of thing. You know what? I know you want to go down the second educational path, because I really want to hear it. But I'm wondering if we should make this part one and start that on part two. What do you think?
I guess we could, yeah.
Because we're only up to number 6, and I got 10 of these, so I'm thinking maybe we leave a little cliffhanger.
So they have to tune in for the second part of how could we use AI for education and really blow the top off our education program and make everybody so much smarter.
What do you think?
Ooh, I like that.
I like a cliffhanger.
I like it. Let's do that. Well, Leslie, this has been much more than I expected. And I hope those watching and listening are like, oh crap, I didn't know that stuff. It's
I
made me
hope
think
so.
about it differently.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of this podcast, isn't it? Is to give people ideas and concepts, not unlike having a coach or a therapist or just your best friend to talk to, that will give you a different perspective and allow you to look at things a little broader. Because as we all know, entrepreneurs work in a vacuum, right? Almost all of us, especially solopreneurs, don't have that person to bounce ideas off and brainstorm with and get a different perspective. And even though you and I both encourage everybody we know to get a coach, get a mentor, and get a consultant, get somebody that you can talk to, most people are reluctant to do it. I don't know whether they feel like it's a failure to ask for help, or they think they can't afford it, but I don't see how you can not afford it, because it really gets you the opportunity to flourish so much faster than you
Well,
get on your own.
isn't it as an example like the program you have established? And I'm going to take a second and talk about that. But isn't that one of those things where, you know what, I can compress time if I bought your program and I went through the modules and I watched all the videos, I did all the exercises. I mean, that's like a 4-year college degree. And if I did it in what could I do it in a week if I just said, hey, this is all
Sure.
I'm doing? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's 50
it's
videos. Yeah.
it's compressing time,
Yeah.
right? How can that not be invaluable? And
Yeah.
because
That's
you
that's not
come
even
out as a
AI.
different,
That's me.
yeah, I mean, you come in as one person, you come out as a totally different person, and now you have a different thought process in situations. I mean, I think you're one of the best teachers when it comes to critical thinking,
Thank you.
and processes and those type of things and systems that most business owners, including myself, until I hired you, that were probably a blind spot. And now I'm more aware of it. I'm better at it. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But it's a journey. So talk to us about your program.
So it's called Freedom by Design. Build a business that runs itself, because we need to be working on our businesses and not in them. I just did a demo of this our software, which is a different product, this week with a guy who um, only works in his business, and he's drowning, and he's saying to
Mhm.
me, I can't wean my clients off of me because they are so they trust me and they want me and blah blah blah. And so I was telling him that he needs to learn to work on his business, and I was giving him hints and tips on how to make that transition. That this Freedom by Design is all about how to build a business that operates without your 100% attention, which I think is the definition of success. When you can walk away from your business and it runs without you, and you come back and it's still, you didn't lose any clients, you didn't lose any money, your employees are still happy, everything is working as it's supposed to, then and only then, to me, have you achieved real success in a business. Money comes, money goes, money comes and goes. But being able to build something that can operate independent from you is quite something, I think. And it took me, I've been in business on my own for 20 years, and it took me 15 years to learn that. And so the last 5 years have been way more fun than the first 15. So now that, oh, you've got it up there on the screen. I hope that they can see it. Learn.conciergebusinesssolutions.com. There are 3 different levels of information. You can pick whichever one fits your budget the best. And I hate to say I promise you, because that puts me in liability perspective, but you'd be hard pressed not to get at least a dozen tidbits that will really make a difference for your business and what you're trying to do. At least I would say more than that, but you've seen it. What do you think?
Thanks, great. And that's an unbiased opinion because I saw as it was being created. I got the opportunity to go with you to San Francisco, actually Oakland, and yeah, and in a cool studio and see you produce this, and you did really really well. And it was like watching you share 20 years of knowledge in, you know, I don't know,
It's 50.
24. 24 hours. It was
Something
really
like that.
kind of cool. And it
Yeah,
reminded me of it's like it reminded me of things that you may have forgotten that you knew.
right. And you know what's important to understand about this particular educational series is that um, I desperately want people to see it because it will help. I know it will help them, and it's about business fundamentals. It is not about the business I'm currently in. So if you're listening to this or you think you might be interested, don't think that it's only about lifestyle management. It has nothing to do with that. I teach industry benchmarks and how to run a business regardless of what kind it is. It doesn't make any difference if this is how you run a good business and how you achieve the operational independence that you need in order to be successful, which is my measuring stick. So thank you for asking that question.
I think it's super cool. I know that as a teacher, that as we teach, we also learn, and it's almost like if I say if I taught somebody how to tie their shoes, it makes me think different. It uses a whole different part of my brain to try to teach them how to do that. And there's all kinds of studies on that. You can check it out. But I think that by you doing all the work you did to prepare for that filming and then film it, it only solidified your beliefs in what you've taught and
Yeah,
you've done for decades as this works in any environment, any business.
yeah, it's
Check it
true.
out.
Yeah,
Learn dot yeah, learn.conciergebusinesssolutions.com. And what does that take them to, Leslie? Is that a landing page with more
it is.
information?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a landing page with an explanation and kind of a syllabus of the different what each program includes and what you can learn, and then you can select the one that you want. That, like I said, the best one that fits your budget. Obviously, the uh, higher ones have more content in them, but all of them still a lot of content, even in the basic version. And like I said, there's like 50 videos, so it's a lot of content. And but they're all in like 2 minutes or 5 minutes. They're not super long each video, so you can go through them at a very reasonable pace. You don't feel overwhelmed. You don't get bored. Your eyes don't glaze over. At least that's what I've been told by people that have watched it. So I think that it's really going to be good for everybody. Can't wait for people to see them. So we're going to do
Oh, now
step
wait
two.
a second, wait a second.
I'm sorry.
When someone buys your program, they also get to get involved in your community too, don't they?
Oh, that's true. They get. We have a Facebook group called the Center for Concierge Business Education, and that is a sort of a mastermind group of people where we can share ideas and brainstorm and solve problems. And then we post a lot of content out there. My newsletters that have been turned into videos and just all different kinds of things. And so, depending on which level you purchase on the educational program, Freedom by Design, you can either get a month for free or a lifetime for free. It just depends on what you pick. So, because that is my Facebook page is a paid um, series. So, we try to fold that in because we want to give you as much information as possible.
Now, do you go into that group on a regular basis? Do you have somebody monitor it? How does that work?
I try to be in there a couple of times a week at least. I'm getting better about it. I put it on my calendar, so I make sure I go in there because the time slips away, as you know. You can't. It's hard to keep up with stuff. I think, oh, I did this yesterday, and it was this morning, or it was 10 days ago.
Have you thought about artificial intelligence?
I use it all the time. I do. But I'm not overly reliant on it, which is what we're talking about right now. Oh, look at that segue. Oh, that was so great. So
Make sure to go to learn.concierge business solutions. That's 3 S's in a row, solutions.com, and check that out. And so you have 50 videos that show you how to be a successful business person at any
yeah,
level in any business.
in any
And
kind of business. And it's based on a puzzle metaphor. So it's talking about putting the pieces of your business together like a puzzle. And I think that will resonate with, I know it will resonate with people because in the beginning, you wear every hat and you got all these puzzle pieces and what the hell do you do with them all? It's crazy. I mean, I know I've walked that road many, many times. So I know how hard it can be. And there's no reason for anybody to have to start from scratch, not in this day and age. There's people like me out there that and like you, who have all the bumps and bruises and marks and scuff marks from doing this the first time through. I mean, I started my business in 2006 before my industry even existed, but I had been teaching and working in business fundamentals for uh, for 20 years before that. That sounds awful, but it's true. Since the late, I'm going to say late 70s. I mean, I've been doing this business stuff, this corporate business stuff forever, and have taught many, many on-site courses, gone into businesses and taught their people how to be better at what they do, and doing all kinds of software design and changes to provide reporting tools for people. And there's just re-engineering business processes. There's just so much stuff that can make your business more efficient and easier and make you successful, and you don't have to work so hard, which is one of our topics.
Well, now I'll let you wrap us up. Just make sure to go to, if you're interested, learn.conciergebusinesssolutions.com and check that out and sign up. Yeah,
Thank you for that plug, Jeff. I appreciate it.
All right, take us out.
Okay, so we've just spent an hour going over the first 5.5 of the top 10 AI traps that you can run into and how to avoid them. So we're going to come back here with a next podcast and talk about the other 5.5 so that you can then see what makes sense and how you can utilize AI in the best possible way. It's, like everything, we started with this, I'm going to end with this. Like everything, the more you understand how something operates, the better decisions and the more pitfalls you can avoid. The better decisions you can make, the more pitfalls you can avoid.
It's like electricity. The more you know about it, the less shocking it is.
Where do you get these dad jokes? You don't have children. Stop it.
It just came to me. Like I just plugged in. I plugged into the universe and here it came.
You're like Art, Art is bad.
All right, I'm gonna end it here. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on part 2 of the top 10 AI traps and how to avoid them. I'm Jeff Harrison and
Leslie Spoor, and we'll see you next time.